Here we go, going live. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly podcast show for the OMFL. I am your guest, the Commissioner, Nate. Thank you so much for joining us. And with me today, one of my special buddies, our champion. That's right. We got Huday with us. Huday, how you doing today, buddy?
Oh, it's good to be back. What's going on, fellas?
It is another week in the OMFL, and we have missed a couple of weeks here. Just life and busyness and everything else that normally takes place has kept us from being able to do a show. So let's quickly jump in there. Don't want to waste anybody's time. We've got so much to talk about. Let's talk about one game each that stuck out to us in weeks 12 and 13. So let's look at week 12. Pick a game that stuck out to you as a game that was surprising and that you just want to talk about for a second.
Week 12 for me, I hate to pick my own game, but it was Colts-Bengals. He ended up winning 30-27, but that game, the score was deceiving. I mean, he was up 3 scores on me within 5 minutes of the game. Like, it was almost just got real nasty, but he's done a great job with that team, tough roster, and top to bottom. I mean, he's a contender, and then I look for him to make some noise in the playoffs.
Hey, hold on one sec. We gotta just pause. It's live, but we just gotta give me a minute, 1 minute. Just stay right here. All right, so this is what happens when you do a live show, but you're not a professional. I had family in who decided, yeah, let's leave right now and say goodbye. So we're back. You were talking about your game. Catch us up, though. Like, how did they get up 5 scores? If you look at the stats, you only gave up less than 200 yards passing and less than 50 yards rushing from his head guy, and not much more than that. I think only 12 rushing yards outside of his main guy, Grimes. So how did he get up so big? You had 2 turnovers, but, like, what happened there?
Well, the turnovers came right out of the gate. As soon as it was like the very first play, he didn't roam on me. He's standing right there in the middle of the field, and I just threw it right to him. I think he might have ran that back for 6. Got the ball back, turned around, did the same exact thing. Colin is one of those guys you're never really going to hear anybody complain about. He's well-rounded. I never really know what to expect from him. You know, he switches things up. He keeps it fresh. You know, I can't say going into a game, this is what's going to happen. And really, he's one of the top 2 or 3 guys that I just don't want to play because he's going to fight you tooth and nail all the way.
Yeah, I mean, that was an interesting game. It'll be fun. Yeah, like, your team is so good. I mean, you easily are the top guy going into the season. So it'll be fun to see kind of how this plays out. When I'm kind of looking over the schedule now, we do have some guys that have been missing for different reasons. And so there's so many different games here that were sim games and things like that. The Buccaneers and Falcons look like a great game. But again, that was a CPU game, so it was really hard to pick. But I'm going to go with the Texans. I was going to go with your game, but I'm going to go, instead of the Texans, I'm going with the Vikings and the Packers. And I know that this game was played. I think your game was probably the game that stuck out to me the most. But the Vikings have been on a tremendous roll this season, but the Packers really played them close. But if you look at these stats, the Vikings allowed 54 passing yards, 97 rushing yards, and only won 20-17. The Packers, I don't know what has happened to their passing game. But Aaron Rodgers, 4 for 14 for 64 yards, 3 interceptions, and a touchdown. Bridgewater had 343 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Good had a pretty good game, 15 for 75, but not really a lot of those big breakaway runs that he's known for. I played them a couple of weeks ago. Something is clearly off about Rodgers, but the Vikings squeak away with a 20-17 victory on the road against Green Bay, but yet only allow 64 passing yards. Like, how do you only allow that less of yards completely, but yet still only win a game by a field goal? That one really stuck out to me as a game outside of yours in Week 12. Now let's move over to Week 13. We had a lot of really good games here, but pick one that stuck out to you in Week 13, and let's talk about it.
Most of these games, just kind of looking over the schedule and what happened, were pretty good. No huge surprises, but something that kind of caught my eye was the Pittsburgh-Denver game. Pittsburgh ended up losing 27-33. Denver had 4 turnovers. Pittsburgh had 1, but Denver still won. Looks like Pittsburgh had the ball for almost the whole game, like 26, 27 minutes. Denver had it for like 17. Looking over the stats, it's hard to find out why Denver ended up getting the W, but it looks like he sacked him 6 times. And Cliff Averill had a big game with 3 sacks. I've played both these guys this year. And I just, Tavon's a great player, man. Every game I play with him, super competitive, really, really fun guy to go against. But I don't get it. I mean, just from playing him, I would think that he would be, in that top 2 or 3. That's how he plays me. So that kind of surprised me a little bit. I didn't think that Denver pull that one out.
Yeah, it's one of those really tight games. If you look at it, 10 sacks total in the game, 17% third down percentage for the Steelers, 0. Yes, 0 for the Denver Broncos, and yet they scored 33 points. And I think it all was because of turnovers and turning those turnovers into points. But a really interesting game there, to say the very, very least. Now, I was kind of looking this over. There were some intriguing games, to say the very least. I had a game that unfortunately we had to let go of an owner after that game. But the game that stuck out to me is the Buffalo Bills and the New Orleans Saints. The Saints have not been themselves this entire season. I mean, this was a team that got very much like your Bengals. They got on a roll. They seemed to put it all together. And then they come into this season. They made the playoffs, made a little bit of a run, really looked like they had turned that corner. And then this season, the wheels have fallen off some way, somehow. But yet, they go into Buffalo, a game that they should have won. Buffalo Bills, again, rebuilding that roster, been really MIA. But 35-28 victory there. Mesco had a pretty good game, 267 passing yards, but they gave up 319 to Lynch. Really struggling to find that running game for the New Orleans Saints. Hill did his very best, 11 for 43. Davey right after that, 7 for 22. But their big guy was Jalen Strong, 7 for 121. No touchdowns, and that's going to hurt a little bit. But Chapman, again, the Ducks drafted him, I think, season 1 or something. 6 receptions, 137 yards with a touchdown. The Saints come out of that with a victory, and I'm really hoping that Chaotic can just continue this momentum. Now, he doesn't have a shot this year, but as we move into Madden 18, he's taking over a new team that he's super excited about. It seems like everybody wants to get their hands on that team. I'm hoping that Chaotic is able to keep things going and to really make that his team. All right, so let's look at your games for weeks 12 and 13. We are in week 14, should be advancing maybe even tonight. Let's take and look at a couple of things that stuck out to me as I prepared for this show. Let's talk about the AFC, right? You're in the AFC. This is your division. You've kind of owned it. Let's talk about it a little bit. Who is coming out of the AFC South? If you look at it right now, Jacksonville is sitting at 9-4. The Tennessee Titans finally playing up to their potential this season. They're sitting at 8-5. The Colts right there at 8-5. Even the Texans, I mean, they're pretty much out of it. But look, they're 5-8. Like, they're not 1-10. They're not like some crazy bad record. I mean, they kind of made teams earn it this season. But Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Indianapolis battling it out there. Who do you have coming out of the AFC South?
At first glance, I mean, I want to just say Brady because he has the better record. There's only 3 games left, and right now I think he's maybe 4-1 in the division. I know he's got the tiebreaker against the Texans, or I'm sorry, the Titans and the Colts. But as I really break it down, the Jags, they got the Browns, the Dolphins, and they play the Colts to close it out. The Titans have this coming week. They got Dawson with the Rams, and then they got the Texans, and then we got Colin. He's got the Texans this week, the Jets, and he plays Brady. So as I kind of just went down the list and I wrote down who I thought was going to win what, I think the Colts and the Jaguars both finish 11-5. I think Colin wins out. I think he beats the Texans. I think he's going to get the Jets, and I'll take Colin to beat the Jaguars in the last week of the season. And here's why: the last 3 weeks, the last 3 games, he beat me, he beat Ducks, and he beat Cincy, and just that's super, super impressive. No matter what your roster looks like. So I mean, I'm going to take him to get Brady in the last game. They're going to be tied for division record if that happens, but the Colts are going to have a better conference record. They're going to have more points forced. So I think he's actually going to win that tiebreaker if he wins out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that it's going to come down to that last game. The wild card, the team that really, I've always bragged about the Tennessee Titans. They've always kind of been that one team to me that has been right there in the hunt, trying to get over it and trying to find their way in. But if you look at the schedules, now we're going to take a look at Tennessee. I don't know if you can see the screen right now, but we're looking at all of the team's schedules right now. Tennessee's kind of been that up and down team. The Jaguars have always been that, steady Eddie that's always just been there the whole entire time making a way. But the schedule really does set up really nice for the Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars to meet and for that game to matter. So the Titans have the Cardinals and the Rams. The Jaguars, I want to say, has the Cleveland Browns, and that should be probably going to be a CPU game. And then they're going to end up having that last game, which is going to be against the Indianapolis Colts. So I'm going to go that these two teams will continue to win. I just think that the season schedule sets up favorably for that Colts-Jacksonville winner take all. It's going to come down to that. And so I got to stay with the Jacksonville Jaguars, though. I think that his rushing game, the way that defense, he's got some playmakers that really fly to the ball. I played them a couple weeks ago. That defense is outstanding. They're just all over you. You don't even have a chance to breathe. The Colts have a powerful offense, but have struggled with that defense. Tennessee Titans, I'm not saying that you're out of it. I love that team. I've liked them for a very long time. I think that Clyde's finally put it all together, but I think it's definitely going to come down to Jacksonville Colts, winner take all. I got to take Jacksonville in that one. But I do think the team that doesn't win it will get one of those wild cards. I know that the Ravens are in there, but that's pretty much it. The Ravens and whoever wins or whoever comes into second place in the AFC South. Whoever comes in the third, though, that's going to be a good team that's going to be left out. So I really like the Jacksonville Jaguars to come out of that one, and we'll kind of see how it plays out when we get to that last game of the season. Let's keep it in the AFC, right? Let's continue to talk about the AFC. Now, we've always had this back and forth. Ducks started in the AFC, was kind of a powerhouse, winning championships. Dwayne took over in the NFC, won a couple championships. Ducks went to the NFC. He won a championship, and then you got red hot and started winning championships. So this power struggle has been going back and forth. And as we come into season 6, I think you got to take a look at where are your really great teams. Right now, the AFC East is struggling. You may have a sub-500 team actually make the playoffs from that division, but you are 12-1. The Kansas City Chiefs are at 10-3. We just talked about that AFC South. Probably going to have a 10-11 win team come out of that. If you look over at the NFC, now the East has been a struggle and the West has been a struggle, but both of the top kind of foam on those two divisions has risen there, and they're playing much better. The Vikings are playing really good football, and then you still have the NFC South, which is really, really good with the Falcons and Tampa Bay Bucks, both at 10 wins. So my question that I want to throw at you is the AFC really the better division? I know that's a little skewed, but I also think that you can give me your honest opinion. Where does the power lie? Is it with the AFC?
To be completely honest, I think it's pretty balanced right now. I think some of the NFC squads, their records get watered down because they're grouped together. You know, that division that you play in with Mo and the Meathead, those guys are tough. You know, I wasn't too long ago that everybody over there had like 11 wins, 12 wins. It was crazy. I think with a combination of who's stuck around, who's continued to build their team, with a little combination of the user skill, I think we're in a good place as far as power and control, AFC and NFC. Ducks for a long time just kind of, here's the big dog on the yard. It took a little break, and this team he has really still isn't his own. He's kind of bounced around a little bit. Wayne over in the NFC, he's been a constant powerhouse, and I've kind of came into the picture here late. But I think it's pretty balanced, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I think the one thing that hurts the AFC from not making this a home run all for the AFC would be the Miami Dolphins, or really and truly just that whole AFC East. The Dolphins, the Pats, the Buffalo Bills, and the New York Jets. I mean, when you have a team winning a division at 6 and 7, that takes you down a notch. I think from top to bottom, if you're talking about those top 10 teams, the top 6 that are going to make the playoffs, maybe top to bottom is a little stronger than the NFC. But the reason I think that the AFC is the better conference is just because if you look at those teams on the bubble, right, you got the Colts at 8 and 5, you got the Steelers at 7 and 6. Then you start to get to your 6 and 7 teams, your 5 and 8 teams, where if you look at the teams on the bubble over the NFC, you start off at 6 and 7. So 2 6 and 7, 3 6 and 7 teams, and then a 5 and 8 team. So I think that, and I think you also have to take into fact that you and Ducks do sit in the AFC. Now Mo has turned it on lately, right? He's made a little bit of a push here. Maniac is playing really good football with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Pepper quietly has put together a really good season here. And the Eagles, man, the Eagles are super quietly. We haven't even really talked about them on the show very much, but they're sitting right there at 9 and 4. They're 5 and 1 in their division. They're 7 and 3 at the conference. So I do think that there's a little bit of a balance there, but I'm giving the AFC the nod because you're a champion. You're sitting at 12 and 1, man. You're 5 and 0 in the division. You're 8 and 1 conference. We know what Ducks can do at 10 and 3, 6 and 0 in the division, 8 and 2 in this conference. The only team that you absolutely know can do it in the NFC that you just have to give a nod to is the Atlanta Falcons. Everybody else there has not proved it in a long period of time, whereas the AFC is loaded with guys that have proven themselves over a long period of time. Now let's talk about one of those teams in particular, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now Ducks has had some movement. It looks like he's applied for a brand new team as we move into Madden 18. Ducks really is more of a college guy, so he really likes just about anything. But he drafted a young man named Brett Novak when he was with the Buffalo Bills, I think season 2, maybe season 1. He's a first-round pick, 33rd overall. He won the championship the year before, something like that. So I want to say this was our first draft. And then Brett sat. And then Brett was traded over to the Detroit Lions, and then he found his way to Kansas City, and now Ducks has taken over Kansas City last season, and he's got the same guy. And this guy's got some playmaking ability, 92 median accuracy, 93 short, 87 deep with the 91 throwing power. He's got some speed, right? 83 speed, 90 acceleration. He is a playmaker, 6'1" out of Southern Arkansas. He's quietly had a really phenomenal season. 206 of 303 for 68% completion percentage, 3,643 yards, his best season since being traded to Detroit, 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, by far his best season of his career for a quarterback rating of 125.5. The question that I want to give to you, You can actually see how this guy's hopped around. He went from Buffalo to Detroit to Philly to Detroit, back to Philly, back to Kansas City. So he's hopped around a little bit. But does he have what it takes? Can Brett Novak carry this team for a deep run as Ducks looks for his third championship here in the OMFL?
I think just to answer the question, can he? Absolutely. The things that Ducks can do, not too many other people can. The quarterback's had a great season. He had a great season last year, MVP season. But this year, I don't think he's going to make that deep playoff run. And here's why. He's going to get that second round spot. He's going to get that first round bye in the playoffs. So his first game out, he's going to end up playing Colin or Brady, I'm pretty sure. And Colin just beat him, and you know how Brady is. He's a tough out for anybody. And if he wins that, he's got me. And we play Week 16. I think I'll have a lot better grasp on things once we play that game. But just looking from a roster standpoint, I don't think he has the firepower. Now, I could be wrong. Week 16, he could put a whooping on me. It's definitely a possibility, but I don't think he's had that team long enough to get him how he wants them. I don't think this is the year that Novak goes and wins a Super Bowl.
So here's a question for you before I kind of give my thoughts. If you guys are playing in Week 16, you're both pretty much a lock. Now, you might be fighting for some seeding here, but is it worth showing your complete hand for seeding for either one of you? Or are we talking pretty watered down, let's not really push this thing, let's start some backups? What is the plan as you guys roll into Week 16 for yourself, and then maybe even think about what you think Ducks is going to do?
Well, I've only played him one time, and it was the worst beating I've had in a Madden game ever. 40 on me, I might have scored like 10 points. So he's getting the A1. He's getting, everybody's going 100 full blast. I just kind of want to see what happens, kind of give me an idea of, where this power is going to lie maybe next year if he sticks in the AFC. I'm not underestimating him by any means, but I'm definitely coming with everything I got.
So even if it's all locked up, you're going to chance possible injury, you're going to chance possibly showing your hand, and then you'll worry about it in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I've already got, just like last year, I've got a playoff playbook. I switch it up. We've got guys around here that like to watch a lot of film. I kept the same playbook for about 2 or 3 seasons, and it got to the point to where, guys know what you're running before you hike the ball, which is great. I love that guys watch games, but you got to switch it up in this league. You can't be stagnant. You can't be stale. So whatever you see playbook wise, Week 16, it's not gonna be what you see in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that Ducks is somebody who really trusts his skills. He does believe in momentum, so I do think that you're going to get his best shot, but I think he's going to play smart. I don't think the Ducks is going to show his complete hand. I can be totally wrong on that. It'll be interesting to see how it truly plays out. I do think that Brett Novak has what it takes, though, to lead this team. I think it will come down to both of you in the playoffs deep. Anybody can upset anybody, so that's kind of my caveat to all of this. Yeah, anybody can win in this league, but at the same time, you got to go with what history has shown us in the last couple of seasons. You two are really great players, and I really could see that coming down. Now, Brady could easily upset him. I think Colin would have a very uphill battle to try to upset him because Colin is more offense, and man, Ducks is one of the best offensive players in the league and can really push that envelope as they make that run. But I think if anybody, Brady would have the best chance to upset either one of you because Brady can play really, really great defense. I do like Brett Novak. I don't know that anyone really has the talent, though, to match up against the Bengals. I mean, your team is just so fast and strong and loaded. I think it's going to take someone's best game to really be able to match up against that team. Now let's move on over to another player that really has caught my eye. Now, we've talked about this guy for a couple of different episodes here. We've had different conversations, but I want to turn my attention to Devontae Parker. Now, Devontae Parker has had a really amazing season for the Miami Dolphins. They're loaded. They really go after their 1 and 2 receiver. Devontae Parker is a 90 overall, 91 speed, 93 acceleration, 92 route running, 93 catch, 94 catch in traffic, 86 spectacular, 90 jump, 90 release, 90 awareness. I mean, this guy can do it all. He's sitting right now at 84 receptions, his best of his career, 1,807 yards, best of his career, 21.5 average, best of his career, a long of 89, best of his career, and tied for his best in his career with 9 touchdowns. He still has 2 or 3 weeks left to go. So my question that I want to present to you is, does Devontae Parker become a 2,000-yard wide receiver in this league this season? And why are the Miami Dolphins not able to use all of this great playmaking ability to really get over the hump?
I think that's a great question. As I kind of looked at his stats and kind of, what he's been doing throughout the season, we got 3 games left and he's about 200 yards. But it's his opponents that kind of give me pause. I wanted to say, yeah, he's going to do it. He's going to blow it out of the water. But this Jets team, I believe Smash has got him. I played him when he came back into the league. He was here a long time ago. He's a really solid player. He's got a really good defense from a user standpoint. He's got Brady the week after that. That's no easy task. And then he finishes the season with Wayne in Atlanta. So, 200 yards, 3 games, 1 receiver, he's going to have to target him. It's not going to be a flow of the game type thing. If he wants to go for it, I think that's cool. But if he gets it, he's barely going to get it. As far as, why the Dolphins haven't had success, I don't know, man. I played him first game of the season, I think last season. He whooped my butt. It was straight up. You couldn't have played me any fair, and he cleaned my clock. It wasn't even close. And so I'm always kind of puzzled when I play somebody and they blow me out of the water, and then they'll turn around and lay a goose egg, or they don't make that big playoff run. But I definitely like to see him get in the playoffs, especially moving to 18. He's a great guy. Kevin's cool to have around, and I wish him the best of luck. I hope he gets everything going.
Yeah, I think that he will become a 2,000-yard wide receiver. Now, you're kind of our records guy. I don't know if that's a record. It comes across as this might be some kind of record here. It is a very great season. I think easily he'll be in the 2,200-yard range. Probably, I'm going to give him 12 touchdowns, I think, by the time he finishes out the season. This guy has been spectacular for them. And it's not just him. If you ever play this team, if you go look at the stats, he uses his number 2 receiver also. They both are outstanding, great playmakers for them. And Kevin has always been a head-scratcher to me. He's always been one of those teams that wins games that you think, wow, like that's an impressive win. He really might be over the hump. And then he drops and lays an egg against a team that you're like, why? Like, what happened there? I don't understand what just took place. He should have won that game, and that has been what has haunted the Miami Dolphins and Kevin has been. He wins the games that you're not sure he should win, and then drops the games that you absolutely know he's got to win this game. He's playing a lesser team. He plays down to his competition, and that's going to hurt any team that tries to make a run. But Devontae Parker, dude, you're a playmaker. You're a man amongst boys. And here's, I'm going to let a little cat out of the bag. I'm putting my boy Hude on a little bit of the front here. But he and I are tossing around an idea of starting something new. And the reason I think about this is even though Devontae Parker won't be able to be up for this, I think it would be a neat thing to start. And that is we're going to start an OMFL Hall of Fame for Madden players. And this will be something where you are able to nominate one of your guys that you feel like has in his short time in this Madden. So whatever Madden we're in, Madden 17, even we'll keep this rolling for Madden 18 and on. But for Madden 17, you feel like just for this Madden, here are his stats for these 6 seasons. Here's why he should make the Hall of Fame. These will be players who will not go from Madden to Madden. So what I'd love to have is just a list of players that people can go back and see and go, hey, that guy right there, and we're going to talk about some of those in our next segment. Hey, that guy right there did this in 6 seasons, and though he's not in our league anymore because he was a Madden-generated player or he retired, for those 6 seasons, he made the Hall of Fame because he did these outstanding stats. I just think that that would be a neat thing to do. And that is also a really good transition as we kind of move here into our last segment, and that's outside of the league. And so we're thinking about Madden 18 here very, very soon. The next week or two, we're going to start having a thread up, hopefully not only for the Hall of Fame, but also about for Madden-generated players. Everyone gets to pick one guy that they've drafted, whether it's on their team or not. It's got to be somebody that they drafted in Madden, and you get to take him with you. There'll be some norming of his stats. So we're going to look at Madden 18 and norm it and make sure that those stats don't stick way out. And we don't have like this all of a sudden 32 new players who are way better than everybody out of the box. We're not going to do that. So there'll be some norming to those stats, but you'll get to bring somebody with you. So for our last segment, I just want to throw this out at Houday. Who are some players that just over their time during Madden 17 have stuck out to you? Just some guys that really have caught your eye that you really like and you think should be guys that guys should think about taking with them as we move on over?
We've got a couple that stick out to me, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Darian Traynor, I think he's, as far as drafted quarterbacks, he's the guy this cycle. If he gets brought over, you're looking at, I think it's about 97 throw power, 95, 96 short and medium, and 91 deep. He's an 89 overall guy. He's slow. He can't throw on the run. He's not terrific at play action, but he's a really, really solid player, especially since, Massimo switched teams and really his development stopped. But I think he's going to be a really solid player in Madden 18 if he brings him over. Another guy, Chapman. He was a great drafted player, wide receiver. I think he's 6'6", big guy, 92 speed or so, real fast. Cheeks, I remember, got drafted up in Minnesota. He was a slot guy. He's another big guy. I think he broke some type of record for us for touchdowns or receptions. We're loaded as far as guys we drafted. Good up in with the Packers. He's a great running back. It really just depends, I want guys to really think about this because it's a great feature we have, but you can get in trouble really fast. If you're picking a team that has $10 million in cap space and you're bringing over a guy that's on a 1-year contract, making $15 million, you don't want to gimp your team. So really think about what would be the best long term. You don't want to bring a guy 1 year and lose him, and you don't want to bring a that's going to cripple you at the first off season.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I think guys are going to pick with their heart. But even some more guys, you're going to, or no, like the quarterback, Amy, running back, who is amazing. He'll be 1,000 plus this year. Kilgo, another great player. I mean, he's got 20 sacks. I don't even remember what the record, but he's got to be right up against it if he hasn't broke it already. But these like some really, really great plays. And I'm even going to take a second to talk to some of the guys that I've drafted just to show how you guys should be thinking through this as we move ourselves into Madden. You're trying to pick who you're taking with you. I do have a couple of guys. Forbes, who's a guy I drafted here, so he's on the deal of a rookie year. 75 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. But then I've got a couple of Madden-generated defensive players in Car. He's got 8 sacks, 33 tackles, but he is in the year of a second contract. And then, of course, we've got Smart, who isn't. I think he's 8 sacks. He's had a down season. A guy who's pushed for a sack record in seasons past. Gave him a $150 million contract this past year. He's in year 1 of that. And so if I bring Smart over to my new team, I'm taking that contract. I'm also taking the fact that Keglar and Smart are 6 years deep into their Madden career, and so I'm taking over that age, right? Whereas if I take Tank Forbes, I'm taking a guy who's only in his second year in this league. He's still on that rookie contract, so there's a lot of flexibility there, and I'm still getting a guy who I think is like 88 overall or 89 overall, and just a very, very good playmaker for me. And fits a need where I'm going with my new team in New Orleans. And so that's how you guys have to really think through this. I mean, I know that Cincinnati has so many great players. I think you'll have a really easy option to pick from. And that's another reason that I want to start the Hall of Fame, is because guys like Smart, guys like Keglar, like the league is full of guys like that will not make the jump with us. And I just think back, we're 16 years deep into this season, or into this league. There we go. I know so many guys have come into the league, made such a massive impact, and were like cornerstones of that Madden. And then I can't even remember their names. I drafted a guy like in Madden 04 who was a middle linebacker who led the league for like 5 seasons in tackles and sacks and interceptions. He was a monster in the middle. I can't even remember his name because we didn't keep a record of that stuff. We didn't have like a Hall of Fame for guys like that. And that's why I had this idea, because we do have so many great players that have been mentioned here today that are just going to disappear into, excuse me, the ethos if we don't have some way to memorialize them and put them into a Hall of Fame. So we're going to keep fleshing that out, but we'd love, here probably in the next 6 weeks, we're going to lose all these stats. And so we'll take photos of stats and rosters. We'll try to, Huday's really, really great about helping us with our records and things like that. And so he'll help us to keep an eye on things, but we want you to submit some stuff for the Hall of Fame and really think through, as we also start that process, who are you taking with you into Madden 18? Because that is a really, really big decision for you. So that is a look at where we're at, Week 14 here in the OMFL, our last season. 3 more weeks, and then we're going to wrap things up. We may even, we're going so fast, we may even get a week or 2 break here. And I think that would be good for some guys. But closing thoughts, Huday, thank you so much for joining us. Number one, I know how busy everybody is, but closing thoughts, where we stand here, Week 14 in Season 73.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. It's good to be back. I was going to kind of touch on the Hall of Fame for the closing segment, but I think we covered it. Just keep your eyes and ears open. There should be something, popping off in main chat here pretty soon within the next week. We'll get it all organized and we'll get some guys inducted into the Hall of Fame. Really, I'm just excited. I can tell chat's already starting to pick back up. I kind of figured it would be, just kind of get quieter and quieter, to be honest, until 18 finally dropped. But, guys it's getting pretty active, and it's good to see. Let's finish strong. Let's keep it light. Let's just have fun. And, let's get excited for the playoffs. It's almost here.
Yeah, thank you, man, again, so much for joining us today. And let me just do my little thing that I do at the end. Of course, we're doing this show live. I'm sorry for that little pause at the very beginning. Life doesn't stop just because I decided to do a show with everybody, but I didn't want to miss another week. I got to catch up. I'm going to do my very best, maybe late tonight, to do a game of the week, as I've missed a couple of those weeks. I've been super busy at work, but we're doing these shows live now. We've got some new production. I hope that you've enjoyed the effort that I'm putting into learning new things and trying to give you guys the best production we can. So many teams. Like, I get really turned off by Twitter. So many leagues, so many people in the community who just really drink their own coffee, man. They just think that they're the best, and they are. There are a lot of really great leagues, but I wouldn't trade my guys for anything. Please check out the website, grownfolksoc.com. So many guys are putting out great articles. You need to check that out. Follow us on Twitter, grownfolksoc, YouTube, Grown Folks Online Community, Twitch, Grown Folks OC. So lots of ways that you can follow. Please don't forget, Huday's going to be looking in the next couple of weeks, putting a thread where you can submit all of your points for the incentive award. That will carry over. So your last work that you put in here in this last season, we're going to let you take that with you as we move into Madden 18. So make sure that you're ready to submit your work that you've done and your points for Huday. It's not his job to track everything, okay? But if you've done it and you put in the work, the website makes it so easy. If you haven't taken a chance to do it, look, I've got codes, I've got videos, man. You're not going to find a league that makes it easier to teach you how to make videos, how to write blogs. Everything's integrated. I'm super, super excited. Also, so that everybody knows, here probably in the next week, I've got a real busy work week this week. But after I get through that, I'm going to start making a push for Platinum. We've got 1 or 2 guys that have already put their name and given and donated to the league. That's why we got the new website. But the website is coming up for renewal. For our domain name, we need to move servers to a much quicker, faster, steadier server. Plus, I want to redo the 3 OMFL Daddy League pages that we have: OMFL, OMFL Coach, OMFL 2, and really integrate them to make them look like the website. And well, unfortunately, that all takes money. So we're going to start the Platinum Award again and see for guys that want to donate. It's never, ever a requirement, but just something that we really push if you guys want to do that. Thank you again, Hude, for joining me, dude. I love when you're on the show. We got so much fun stuff that's coming up. I know that the board's really busy. We're really preparing ourselves to finish strong in Madden 17, move over to Madden 18. Lots of really good stuff coming. Check out the website, man. So many good articles. The WWE League is going strong. The Golf League is going strong. The FIFA team has been playing a whole lot. So lots of fun articles for you to read and keep up with. Lots of good stuff. You need to jump in. Jump in with us. It's been a ton of fun. So for Hude, for all of the leadership here in the OMFL and grown folks, thank you for watching the show. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
All right, later, fellas.
Second.